Hey guys, I'm Nicky Doviditis, the director of the Magic Railroad parody, and I'm going to be breaking down nearly all the worthwhile deleted scenes from the film. I say worthwhile because these are the ones that I actually consider to be the most presentable. There's probably another hour or so of alternate and extended scenes, extra moments that we filmed, plus plenty of B-roll, but this isn't the kind of place for that. These are the scenes that were complete enough by the time we removed them that they actually make some sense and warrant discussion. And also don't involve P.T. Boomer because there's already another video about that. Go watch that one. And then, once you have, sit back and let's go through all these godforsaken deleted scenes. Starting with the first dialogue scene of the film originally. After catching young Burnett Stone not paying attention in class, his teacher holds him afterwards to scold him for plummeting grades and his lack of interest in school. Aside from being, semi-autobiographical, I wanted this first scene to show that Burnett was always obsessed with trains from the very beginning, to the degree that it was affecting his schoolwork. The problem is that we already got all of this information from the other scenes right before and after this one, so it became redundant. Top it all off with some poor direction on my part and a big fat continuity error.
These scenes were originally supposed to take place 9 years earlier, but we changed the time period to 1969 after filming the first scene.
Anyhow, this one's a clunker that needed to be pulled so our movie didn't start out on the wrong foot. Take a look.
I just don't get it. I really don't. I mean, how many times do I have to keep telling you not to draw trains everywhere? I understand your interest. I do. But enough is enough. I can't take your pencil away from you in school, can I? Tell me what to do here, young man. I'll tell you one thing. These drawings certainly aren't helping your success in this class either. Something has got to change here.
I could, study at home.
Well, that's an excellent start. Go on, get out of here. You're on the right track to failing this class. One more F and it's off to summer school. Burnett!
The next sequence shows two short interactions that did not make it into the final cut. The first one was a much longer version of Mr. Conductor's introduction that showed him stumbling across a drunken bum in the alleyway next to Shining Time Station. Not too much happened here aside from, me losing half of the footage for this interaction and needing to replace it with storyboards for this rough reassembly. He sweeps up some big leaves, he gets caught, and then he sparkles out. Meanwhile on Sodor, Thomas runs into George the Steamroller on his way back to the sheds. I wanted this in the movie because I felt like it gave us a stronger introduction to George, a character that I felt was important to the story. However, Rob felt that George's initial conversation with Diesel 10 later on in the movie was all the setup that we needed for him, so we cut this scene for time. I still like the ideas behind both of these moments, but stuff like this was kind of bogging down the pacing, and we didn't need it. Enjoy.
What a trooper.
Like that since Woodstock.
Could you go any slower, George?
What are you so happy about, Puffball? Railways are no good. Turn them into roads.
Oh, that'll never happen, George. And you know you like us, really.
Good riddance.
Have a good day, George.
Once again, this is another scene removed for redundancy. Lily walks down the city streets by herself, and runs into her apartment to pack for her trip to Muffle Mountain. Nothing that we learn about Lily here wasn't conveyed in other scenes, so we just stuck with the interior scene in the final cut. Plus, it was really just an excuse to get David Bowie to join the ranks of Jefferson Airplane, the Beatles, and Queen on our soundtrack. What are you gonna do? Here's the sequence.
No one ever listens to me, but I'm telling you right now, this is not going to end well for anyone. Anyone, you hear me? Story's not about me anyways. Their loss.
For once, James was right. He's not actually one of the main characters in this story. Surprise, surprise. But she is. That's Lily. She's a good friend of mine, you know. She lived in a big city a few hours train ride from Shining Time. Kind of a spunky little nuisance, isn't she? What is she, listening to like David Bowie and whatever? What kind of movie does she think she's in? Guardians of the fucking Galaxy?
Just out.
Well, you better get in here fast. I need you to pack right now.
Yeah, I'll be up. I'll be up.
Here's a scene that I know upset some people when we removed it. Splatter and Dodge have recently arrived on the island, and before heading to speak with Diesel 10, they listen in on a conversation that serves as an introduction to Percy, Toby, and Cranky the Crane. This scene can easily be explained away in one throwaway line in the final cut.
Yeah, we heard the angry crane talking about it.
So we really didn't need it. Much like Oliver's mention later on in the film, I felt like Cranky could just be a name drop, as opposed to a fully developed character because he didn't bring anything to the story and only spoke in 2 scenes. Personally, this is probably my favorite scene that we removed. I think the visual effects by one of our head animators, Steven, was just phenomenal, and I pretty much like everything else about it too. You know, it's just a fun little moment, but if a scene can be removed from a movie without the audience missing an emotional beat or crucial plot information, I just don't think it should be in there.
Yes, you pull the express, we know. Don't need to alert the whole island of your presence.
Oh, Gordon's always like that, Cranky. You really mustn't pay much attention to him.
This is new territory for me. I ain't never left the docks before. This new job is stressful. I'm on high alert. Quick as a whip. Ha!
Oh, well, it is rather strange seeing you somewhere other than Brendan. That doesn't look quite right, does it?
The fat controller's gone mad, I tell ya. Wants to refurbish the whole railway, then goes on holiday, leaving Mr. Conductor in charge when the real work begins. So unprofessional.
Nevertheless, we're glad you're here to help us.
Still, why did he have to leave today? I mean, now, of all times. These new diesels are suspicious.
I wouldn't pay too much attention to them if I were you.
Oh, we'll see.
Goodbye, Percy.
Fat Hat's going away, is he?
Let's go and tell the boss the news.
Pinchy.
This is a quick one. Mutt the dog doesn't get to say goodbye to his friend Mr. Conductor before he leaves for Sodor. And that's it. That's all there is to it. This moment was cut because, well, much like the tumbleweed in Cranky the Crane, Mutt was a victim of editing and he needed to be removed for time. I never intended for the character to play as large a role in the film as he was in Allcroft's story, so we only ended up filming a small amount of scenes and they were very easy to pluck out without causing any major issues. In a film stuffed with so many characters, I didn't feel like our version of Mutt was important enough to stay in the movie.
And besides, what else am I gonna do? Take the train? Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
These two sequences were purely just fun ideas for jokes and scenarios, in order to put the characters in new comedic situations. In Allcroft's script, Lily looks down from her apartment to the streets below and begins playing her harmonica for a street performer. In our version, she gets hit in the head for trying to sing in a big crowded city. I like the idea of Lily getting a Disney princess moment, so having her quote-unquote "I want" scene take place at this point in the story, where I didn't want the audience to forget about a major character, made sense to me. We moved Lily's intro scene later in the movie, so we only met her right before she became important to the story, same with P.T. Boomer. And as a result, this scene just really didn't need to be there. At the same time, Mr. Conductor stumbles into a secret poster hall hidden inside Knapford Station after being dropped off by Thomas in the previous scene. The takeaway from this was to show the audience that Sir Topham Hatt was a comically overt and extravagant fascist, but once I edited the new poster into the office scene, this moment kind of lost its relevancy. I think both of these scenes are funny and well presented, but they just didn't seem to fit in the film once we tightened it up.
Lily! You better have your bag packed. We leave for the train station first thing tomorrow morning.
Yes, Mom, I did it. Jeez. At least I can get away from her and Steve. Tiny mountain cottage without Wi-Fi. Nice. All my life.
Hey kids, stop singing!
God, okay, fine. Jesus.
I'll have another double. Drank too much again. Shit! I'm late! You sure it's down here? Hey, this is pretty cool. I didn't know he had his own hall of mirror. Oh, wow. Do I want to be a controller?
Oi, Craig. This was one of the very first scenes that I cut from the film because it was really just a case of me copying the original movie without adding anything significant of my own. Diesel 10 saunters slowly through the big station and the nearby passengers see him and panic. I never got to editing the close-up models or recording any of the lines for the passengers, but it was supposed to be an homage to a very old redub from the early days of YouTube. Never got very far with this scene, and I'm sure you'll see why. Here it is.
Old McDiesel had a plan, with a pinch here and a pinch there, here a pinch, there a pinch. I cracked myself up.
Here's an extended version of the cliff scene from Burnett Stone's past. Rob wrote a really interesting dialogue exchange that gave more depth to Ringo Conductor's backstory, but ultimately, by removing a huge chunk of it, I felt like it made the sequence less meandering and more to the point. This sequence was also scored by Tyne Sensith in its entirety, so, you know, here's another example of excellent music that was just plucked right out of the final cut. What a damn shame. I'm sorry, Tynes, I'm sorry.
You want me, an inexperienced miner, to drive some magical steam engine that will allow me to travel between this 1930s looking British island that's filled with talking trains back to my hometown all the way in America.
Yep.
Alright, allow me to strap myself in and take in whatever insanity you're about to drop on me.
Look, Burnett, I know it sounds whack.
Yeah, no shit.
Look, I don't understand either. I don't know what this British island has anything to do with Shining Time. I mean, I just come over from England and I just got that job at Shining Time, and then, I don't know, I was snooping around and I found this weird gold dust and I thought, oh, maybe this is some kind of American, I don't know, I was bored and I had some, and then I had this crazy nostalgic trip about my childhood home in England, you know, a steam train still roamed, and then I don't know, I ended up here.
So you're telling me this is all some sort of acid-like flashback to a nostalgic drug trip of your childhood home, which has somehow become real, and now you've gotten me all wrapped up in it?
Look, all I know is that I have to keep using gold dust to keep the connection between these two worlds, or I might lose this.
But why me? Because I wrote some silly articles about trains I liked as a kid? Look, I love steam engines as much as you, but at the end of the day, they are dirty and they are a nuisance. It's why railroads stopped using them in the first place. People got fed up with them.
But you don't have to worry about all that rubbish, Burnett. You don't have to have all those concerns or all the responsibilities that the adult world puts on your shoulders. Oh, some adult would just do it their own way. You know how they mess things up. You've seen what's happened in the real world. You must have read something in those newspapers your articles were published in. I was going to reach out to you at some point, once I'd figured all this out and explained it to you, but well, when we bumped into each other, I couldn't just leave you there, so I guess now we'll just have to figure it out for ourselves.
Immediately after the previous scene, we return to the engine sheds to witness our intentionally comedic version of the deranged scene from Allcroft's film. Mr. Conductor sees visions of Diesel 10 in his dreams, and the engines are incredibly disturbed by it. I always felt like it was weird when Alec Baldwin bolted out of bed in the middle of the night. Like, what's he gonna do right this second about the gold dust crisis? Where is he even going? At the end of the day, the premise of the engines being freaked out by something that Mr. Conductor did in the original was already covered by the previous scene, so this one really didn't add much other than some comedic moments. It leads into another sequence that was funny, but ultimately unnecessary, as Mutt tries to give directions to Lily, but ends up just acting the way a real dog might act instead. For reasons I explained before, Mutt didn't make it into the final version of the movie, so neither did this scene. But I know Thomas Van Eight finds this part funny, so at the very least that's a plus. Anyhow, here's the full sequence as it was originally intended to be seen.
Sparkle? Gold dust? Magic? Railroad? Buffers? Did I drink too much again? Damn it. The family told me, as long as there is a railroad, there will be harmony. As long as there is gold dust, there will be energy. You will never have to worry. You'll always have your next fix. But I'm not a drug addict. Yeah, sure. What's going wrong with our railroad and why? My universe is in danger. I've got to find more gold dust. You've got to find more. What? Oh, just, bad dream. bad dream, everybody. Just drank too much hot chocolate. Drank too much hot chocolate again. Keeps me up.
I reckon it's not the coca that he's had too much of.
American ruffian.
Yes, quite. Mm-hmm.
The next day, Lily headed to the big city train station to begin her trip to visit Grandpa Burnett. She was... Wait, what the hell? The dog's there? I must not be remembering this story very well, because this makes no bloody sense. I mean, did he take the train? I guess he took the train, alright.
I don't suppose you know where Track 3 is, do you? You do? Oh, fine. Guess this has to be Track 3.
Here's a quick one that Rob wrote and shot on his own, in order to explain the wrinkles in Mr. Conductor's hat for the final 2/3 of the story. Originally, we began filming his scenes with this hat, but it soon got faded and a bit bent, so Rob bought a pristine second hat to be used in all the scenes before the engine shit, and then we filmed a close-up of Mr. C's booze spilling onto the hat, causing the wrinkles that appeared in the rest of the film. This one really drags the movie down, and I'm glad we cut it. Take a look.
All right, Mr. C. See you later, Yankee Doodle.
Bye, James. Stupid whiskey.
Here's another short scene that we trimmed the ending of. Thomas and Bertie recreate their brief interaction from the original movie here, in one of the earliest model scenes that I filmed for our version before we switched over to 4K cameras. I love the score here, and I think the voice actors did a great job, but there's really not much else to say about this one.
Let us get back to work. That's what he would want.
How about a race, Thomas?
I'm sorry, Bertie. I can't today. I have to be a really useful engine and solve some mysteries instead. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Here's an early version of the rabbit scene that included the original vegetables seen in the 2000 film. Before eating the mushrooms, Mr. Conductor plucks a carrot and a celery stick from the tiny garden. Rob came up with this scene the day that we were filming it, but I personally felt like this satire of Allcroft's insanely deranged and out-of-place rabbit scene was covered with the cereal boxes. As a result, this scene never made it into any of the early edits of the scene, so I never removed the on-set whistling from the audio track. I don't even think Rob remembers filming this part. Check it out.
Oh, what do you know?
He's got his own little vegetable garden. Don't mind if I do. Plane. Drain. What the hell? That was weird. Fountain? Mountain? What the hell's going on? I'm gonna try the celery. Sausage? Bicycle? What the hell's going on? Why am I saying this stuff? I'm gonna try those mushrooms.
Here's another scene that didn't make it very far past principal photography. After failing to prank call Mr. Conductor, Junior tries a second time on an unaware wrong number. This caller happens to be Sir Topham Hatt, who has dialed the wrong number for a phone sex hotline and begins undressing on the phone before his wife comes in the room. I personally love this joke, as well as the fact that it was conceived in 2017 by none other than Squeaky Clean Enterprising Engine 93. Who would have thought, huh? I think this one just adds more meat to the bone of the movie, and explains why Junior is familiar with the sound of Sir Topham Hatt's voice the next time they're on the phone with each other. It was a funny idea, but it really didn't make it very far into the editing process, so we never got to film the shots of Sir Topham Hatt. Here's the best possible recreation of this last scene for your viewing displeasure.
And then, when I told you not to invest in Enron, Hillary Clinton, or Toys R Us, you did.
Oh, hold on, cuz. Got another caller. Just wait a second. Hold up.
What do you mean? No, Junior, don't hang
No,
up.
it's fine, it's fine. Hello?
Will you shut up, woman? I'm on the phone. Christ's sake. Hello. I would like an extra large pizza with sausage, pepperoni, and cheesy crust. That'd be nice.
Well, would you like breadsticks with that loaf?
Yes, ma'am, that'd be fantastic.
Junior!
Well, I'm sorry, Cupcake, but we're awfully busy today. Please hold.
Of course, my lovely. What? Oh, that lying, no good.
Who was that, dear?
Oh, no one, my dear.
Junior!
Cupcake.
Junior, where are you?
These next scenes served two very different purposes. Mr. Conductor leaves the Bellflower and continues on his search for the Windmill before stopping to rest in a field near the main line. In the Indian Valley, Grandpa Burnett and Lily share an intentionally awkward interaction that demonstrates the distance the two feel once they're stuck alone with each other. Lily is desperately trying to learn more about who Burnett is as a person, picking up on the visual clues inside his house. But Burnett remains stoic and cold, a mistake that he feels sorry for the next morning when she runs away. The first part of this chunk is completely unnecessary padding, but it's fun and I always love filming scenes in nature. The second one I think is an effective scene within the story, but it serves as a direct parallel to Allcroft's director's cut. And, once we saw the original version, we really didn't like how it felt in our version. However, I still love the idea that Burnett is so closed off that he wouldn't even get out proper dishes for his granddaughter. Take this sequence as extra fluff, nothing more.
Let's get you inside. pizza. You like pizza?
I guess. Grandpa, don't you like pictures anymore?
No.
Why don't you live in the valley like everyone else?
Because I don't like trains.
But the trains stop at Muffle Mountain.
On the other side. On this side, there's neither sight nor sound of them.
You sure you don't like trains, Grandpa?
Yes, I'm sure.
You sure you're sure?
Yes.
You're sure?
Yes.
This was an idea for a scene inspired by a single shot from the original film. I always thought it was a neat idea to have Gordon and Percy share a friendly exchange at the big station before going their separate ways. Percy and Thomas delivering the mail at night was also one of Allcroft's few direct references to the classic series in her movie, so I really wanted to emphasize that as much as possible. This was also one of the very first engine scenes to be animated for the film, which is why it made it into the version shown to a test audience in Pennsylvania in July 2019. It's a cute scene, but it's not really essential. I like this one, and that's really all there is to it.
I say, little Percy, the mail train was due in 10 minutes ago, was it not?
It was, but I got sent the long way. Construction, I think.
You mustn't let a little thing like that stop you. What would the Fat Controller think?
I'm sure he's got more important things to worry about. And so do we.
Originally, we had the really useful engine montage from the 2000 film in its entirety within the parody. It was one of the few scenes that truly felt like classic Thomas in Allcroft's movie, and I always wanted to do my own version of it. So I integrated the scene into George the Steamroller's plot as he slowly begins to crack under the pressure of having to be on Diesel 10's team. Having Cranky drop something on an engine is classic Thomas anyhow, and I love seeing all the engines together at once. However, Rob wanted the pacing of the scene to be much quicker once it became intercut with the Pinchy abduction scene. It's cool, but from a satire perspective, this part made little sense to keep in the movie. I'm sure all the Thomas fans will enjoy it though. Take a look.
Hey George! Stop basking in the sun when there's work to be done!
Railways, no. Oh, hey!
Sorry, mate.
Here's a sad victim of the final cut of the movie. After failing to get information from Mr. Conductor, Diesel 10 is made to be a complete fool in this scene that was meant to be seen after Lily and Junior arrive on Sodor. This one was the very first model scene I filmed once I knew the project was going to be feature-length, as opposed to just 2 little YouTube remakes. It was pretty much fully animated and ready to go when it was cut for time. I know Rob and I were sad to see it removed because Matt and Turtles really knocked it out of the park here, not to mention Will's performance as Diesel 10. This scene is very funny and I wish it was still in the movie. We just needed to keep it under 3 hours, and pulling this moment helped us get to that point.
Wait, so tell us again why you let Twinkle Toes escape?
Yeah! Enlighten us.
Oh, that. Well, I did it on purpose, you know, to see if he could escape.
Liar, pants on fire.
He doesn't wear pants.
Well, training pants.
That was lowbrow, dude.
What?
Training pants? Your attempts at humor sicken me to my cooling system.
All right. Playtime's over, Splodge.
This conversation is not finished.
Now it's time for the next lesson, eh? I call it How to Stop Being Stupid.
Well, there goes our call for the week.
Oh, that's gonna ruin my facial.
Shit.
This next scene is a longer version of the interaction between Mr. Conductor and Junior at the Windmill. We see Mr. C nearly prematurely reveal Junior's true origins, and we get a nice line for the trailer. The special effects here are obviously unfinished, and the audio is inconsistent. That's really all I've got for this one. It's just more of what you've already seen in the final cut of the movie. Here you go.
Look at that! That's my backup.
Yeah, and it looks great on me, doesn't it?
Junior, I told you to just get the gold dust. Besides, that weed is from Conductor Academy. I don't even think it's potent.
No, but maybe that's just what we need. Stoke up the magic in the mountain, right? Roll a joint and, you don't know that's not what it is. You haven't tried it yet. Look, I'm leaving our options open, okay?
Junior, that is without a doubt the dumbest thing I have ever heard. The fate of the island of Sodor and the Indian Valley is in our hands. We are facing a major crisis here. And you want to get stoned on illicit drugs under a windmill in the presence of 2 minors?
Hey, man, I mean, she's not gonna smoke it. I'm not that kind of guy, and besides, Tommy the Tank's over there is at least, 120 years old, give or take. I mean, you know, I wasn't
talking about Thomas.
Okay, fine.
Junior, who is this little girl?
Well, that's just Lily. Hi, Lily! Just stay back a minute,
Junior, why did you bring a stranger's child into this world?
Well, she wanted to come, didn't she? I just thought I might bring her, show her on a little bit.
Junior, you realize how dangerous this is? You remember what happened with my father? Remember? Junior, I want you to listen to me, and I want you to listen to me very carefully.
I always felt like it was odd that Mr. Conductor and Lily decide to camp out in the wilderness of Sodor instead of just going into a house, or at the very least back to Mr. Conductor's bed indoors, especially since they had Thomas to take them wherever they wanted to go. As a result, I wrote this short scene that takes place right after Junior's taken away by Diesel 10 to explain that Mr. Conductor intentionally avoided returning to places that he thought Diesel 10 could find him in. I like the idea of seeing Mr. Conductor completely giving up and just taking off his hat, signifying how done he is after all the shit he's been through. Lily tries and fails to comfort him before Mr. C takes control of the group and looks after Lily in Junior's absence. This is a very rough and incomplete scene that was super slow and poorly shot. My bad. It's a pretty unnecessary moment that we filmed. Here it is.
Oh, for fuck's sakes! Right. I guess we'll head back to Knackford. No. Diesel will be expecting that. Right. We'll have to hide to stay safe. If Diesel finds me, I want you two to be alone. We'll find a
good place to sleep for the night. Come on.
In Allcroft's original film, Thomas leaves Annie and Clarabelle behind on the main line, reassuring the two old coaches that Percy will fetch them later. I always thought that idea was kind of bizarre, so I wrote a comedic scene where Percy mistakes the stranded rolling stock for Splatter and Dodge on his journey through the thick fog. This scene is really fun, and I think the cast gives a great performance all around. I always wished Annie and Clarabelle were able to play a larger role in the story because they're such funny characters, and I think they were ripe for comedic potential. This scene was removed for pacing purposes before it could be animated, and the rest is history. Very unimportant, obscure YouTube history.
I am brave. I am brave. Thomas says I'm brave, so I'm brave. Oh, it's not easy being brave.
Oh, shiver my pistons, there's Splatter and Dodge, oh no!
Percy! It's Percy!
Oh.
Clarabelle, wake up! Percy's here to collect us!
I'm not.
Oh, Percy! Percy, darling, thank you so much for rescuing us.
I'm not rescuing you. Thomas told me to go.
Thomas, that engine promised us that you'd come back to fetch us, and now he's given you another task. You need to stand up for your self-love.
Yes, you can't just go around doing everything he tells you to do. Be your own engine.
Exactly. Don't listen to what anyone tells you, Percy. Now, take us home.
I'd better go.
What? No, that's not what I meant. Percy, dear.
Percy, you can pull us sometimes. Just please come and...
Sorry, I have to save the railway.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
Henry, darling!
This was a scene I had always envisioned in my mind as a kid, and I wanted to bring it to life in my version of the story. Boomer makes good on his word from the previous scene, and uses his knowledge of Burnett's hiding place for Lady from the previous flashback as means to seek revenge on his best friend. As much as I love the somber tone and bleak visuals of the scene, it was ultimately unnecessary to include, as elderly Burnett relays this exact same backstory to Patch in the very next scene. The buildings in the background were also a little too modern for the time period that we were going for, so the scene ultimately ended up being cut from the final version of the film.
What did he mean by that, Burnett? What prized possession?
Oh shit!
Patch? In the original film, it always bothered me how a lot of the supporting cast was given nothing to do in the second half of the movie, as most of, if not all, the work on the railway seemed to disappear from the story entirely. I wanted to change that with this scene, showing a leaderless and hopeless fleet of engines ready to work, but with no scheduled trains to pull thanks to Mr. Conductor's absence. This scene only existed so I could show the audience that while Thomas and the other characters were off having an adventure, the industry of the railway continued on in the background. It was never fully completed or animated, but I enjoy it quite a lot, and I think that much of the voice cast gives a great final performance to each of their respective characters, especially Chris as Gordon. I also love how he knows about the Indian Valley Railroad somehow. Anyhow, here's the scene.
What are you all still doing here?
We haven't been given our work. There's no schedule. Nothing. The railway's come to a halt, Percy.
Maybe Diesel was right. Maybe we really are nothing without our controller. Maybe Diesels are the future.
Oh, stuff and nonsense.
We're too reliant on our timetables. Our railway is falling apart. Mr. Conductor was supposed to arrange him yesterday, but he isn't here.
He's never here. Where on earth has that lazy American buffoon got off to now? I don't know how they do things on the Indian Valley, or wherever, but we Sudrian engines have to keep time.
Where do you think you're going?
My passengers are awaiting my arrival, and scheduled train or not, I'm going to take them where they need to be. That's what the fat controller would want. You can stay here for all I care. Disgraceful.
Well, I better arrange this train. Dirty sidings. You know the drill.
Well, if they're going, then maybe we should go too.
It's not by the book per se, but I suppose we ought to give these diesels a run for their money.
This is a quick little piece of improv that Rob and I threw together the day that I had to leave Ontario in 2018. I think it's funny, but the lighting and the color temperature were a little wonky, and we ultimately decided to start the final plot resolution scene in a different way to explain Mr. Conductor's vision of his ex-wife from earlier in the film. It's just a dumb, short little gag. Take it or leave it.
I can't believe it, cuz. Dad, have you been my dad all my life? Were you... Sorry, that sounded really dumb. Were you my dad when I was born?
Now I remember why I left.
What's that?
Junior, I left because I wasn't ready.
In this extended version of the finale, we see more of the Shining Time characters dicking around on Sodor. I always loved the unexplored idea from the original movie of this American farmer kid just wandering off on the island of Sodor. What bizarre things he might come across, and how he might react to them. He runs into the tumbleweed from the original movie, and is so freaked out that he runs away and chases after Lady into the magic buffers back home. This is actually the very first complete scene that we filmed with Jacob Jarrett as Patch, in the summer of 2017. I cut it when I cut the tumbleweed for time, so the setup of the scene had to be removed as well. The conclusion to a plot thread only seen exclusively in Allcroft's movie was removed as well, for obvious reasons. I was really struggling to figure out how to work with the final conclusion of Patch's character, so I inserted him into Mr. Conductor's final goodbye, and then Rob wrote a new scene for the ending of the final cut as a button on the end of the character's journey. There's plenty of incomplete VFX and awkward editing throughout this final sequence. There's no music either. But anyways, here's how I originally wanted to end the movie. Enjoy.
It works!
Hey!
It works!
Great! Good on you guys.
Come on, Lily, let's look around.
I'll catch up with you.
Alright, bye.
Hey kids, stay out of the way of rail traffic.
Up yours, boss baby.
Lily, I
think I promised you something. Here. Take some. Oh. So, cuz, how else can I help?
Whoa. That is possibly the strangest thing I have ever seen.
Howdy, partner. What's kicking?
Ah!
Burnett!
So that was kind of a mixed bag, wasn't it? With a few exceptions, I think these scenes were pretty unnecessary and dull, but I know many people wanted to see them again, so I hope this breakdown was cathartic for those people. It's weird to imagine just how slow the movie would have been had we left all of these in, along with the PT Boomer scenes from the other video. I think the final product benefited from their exclusion, but it's still interesting to think about what could have been. Stay tuned for more behind-the-scenes videos on the way. Thanks for watching. Much like all over the